From the OUTV Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, California, this is Brief News Brief, a brief look at today's trending news topics, proudly combating the thought police since 2016. Here's your host, James Heaney.
I'm James Heaney, and this is your Brief News Briefing. And we want to thank all of our listeners for making March our best month ever for podcast downloads. We appreciate your support. Please continue to tune in twice a week to get the latest news headlines. The easiest way to get those are going to briefnewsbrief.com. You can get the video here. You can get the podcast here. You're probably watching it here right now on briefnewsbrief.com. Enough for the advertisements. It's that time again, America. The U.S. Census is happening. It's basically a government head count of all of us Americans. Now, the preparation for this upcoming census has been more contentious than usual as controversy has continued to erupt over the idea of putting citizenship questions on the census. It's like when you apply for a job and you have to check the box that says that you're legally able to work in the United States. The Trump administration has had a push to add that checkbox to the census. While being a citizen is a requirement of working, it's not traditionally been on the census, as it's assumed that it will impair the actual final head count. And if you're going to do a count, don't you want that count to be accurate? So if you're going to put a question on there that is going to change the accuracy of the census, don't you think you're shooting yourself in the foot? Now, this dispute's been working its way through the Justice Department. Most recently, the Trump administration added a citizenship question to the 2020 census. Well, today, the House Committee on Oversight voted to compel the Trump administration to provide more information on that decision. Now, this means the committee chair, Elijah Cummings, will be issuing subpoenas for both testimony and documents. This comes 3 weeks before the Supreme Court is set to consider whether the question will be allowed on the forms in every household in the United States that they'll be required to fill out next year. 2 federal judges have struck it down, so legally it shouldn't be on there. The committee has already questioned Deputy Assistant Attorney General John Gore about how it ended up there anyway, despite the fact that it was struck down. Now, Gore refused to answer over 150 questions on that matter. That's crap, right? Give us some answers. We want answers. Answer me. Well, that's what Cummings thinks too. No one knows how that pesky citizenship question ended up on the back of the census, seeing as courts keep ruling it out. It's illegal. Take it off. Many say including the question will deter many immigrants and their family members from participating. A reduced response rate would threaten the count's accuracy and could harm the people who live in the areas with large immigrant populations. Now, census data is used to allocate hundreds of billions of dollars in federal funding and to determine the apportioning, and redistricting of the money. So the Supreme Court is expected to rule on the matter by June, shortly before the survey forms are due to go to the printers. It's gonna be a nail biter, folks. Will it, won't it? Will it, won't it? Be on the form? Secret Service agents arrested a woman at President Trump's Florida resort this past weekend after she was found carrying 2 Chinese passports, which is one too many if you count them finger by finger, and with a thumb drive. And on that thumb drive, malicious software on it. The woman's name was Yujing Zhang, and she first told security officials at the Mar-a-Lago that she was just there to go swimming in the pool, and she got in. Now, the staff at the club thought that she was a relative of one of the club's members, somehow, I don't know. But once inside the grounds, Zhang allegedly told a receptionist that she was there for a United Nations event scheduled for later in the day about Chinese-American relations. Well, this blew her cover since that didn't exist. She should have just gone to the pool. In fact, despite her initial claim to be headed for the pool, she wasn't carrying a swimsuit. Now, I'm not a super-duper secret agent, but if I was going to go in to use it, I would have floaties in my arms, and I would be wearing a Speedo with a snorkel mask. But apparently she went in with a briefcase dressed as a businesswoman, and Zhang was stopped. She was questioned and she was searched. She had 4 cell phones, a laptop, a hard drive, and a thumb drive which contained malicious malware. She told Secret Service agents that a Chinese friend instructed her to travel from Shanghai to the president's Florida resort to make contact with a member of the Trump family. But we couldn't see who she was talking to on her WhatsApp. We don't know who it is. She's being charged with making false statements to a federal law enforcement officer and entering a restricted area. Shut it down. Shut the whole damn border down. Donald Trump has threatened to close the border with Mexico as soon as this week. Now, this is in response to the migrant crisis from Central America that keeps the president up at night, and he's been keeping in the front and center of his presidency throughout his tenure. Is that what you call it, a tenure? He couldn't get his wall, so now he just wants to shut down the whole border completely. It's insane if you consider the fact that he knows he didn't get the wall, so if we close down the place people are legally entering, isn't that going to make them go to the places where there's not a wall? He's drawing a line and nobody's going to cross it. Well, a lot of people are concerned about how this might affect the trade and the economy. Senior White House officials are looking at ways to exempt commercial trade from the complete shutdown of the border. There's a lot of signs that blocking the flow of goods between these two countries would have severe economic consequences for the United States. Even Mitch McConnell took a stand against the complete shutdown of the border. Closing the border would have potentially catastrophic economic impact in our country, and I would hope that we would not be doing that sort of thing. It seems like the only thing you ever do, Mitch. The president said today that he's more focused on security concerns than the impact closing the border would have on the U.S. economy. Sure. For Trump, current and former aides have said the closure is about leverage, forcing people to think he's about to do it, and he just might do it to get other concessions. Sometimes he backs down at the last moment, and sometimes he follows through like a bull in a china shop. You don't stop. You just kick those legs and relax it fast. Will he, won't he, will he, won't he, won't he close the border? Can't he even wait until spring breaks over? Would that leave hundreds of thousands of Americans stranded in luxury resorts until the end of time? I don't know what happens in that situation. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders says, "It's not our first choice." But she said Trump could be left with a little option if the Mexican government doesn't do more to address the number of people trying to enter the United States, adding, "We changed our mind and we don't want you tired. You're poor. Your huddled mass is yearning to breathe free. Donald Trump is king now." She might not have said that word for word, but I mute the TV, and that's what it looked like when I was lip reading her.